In HM dockyard ports, the overall responsibility for all ship movements rests with the Queen's harbour master and his assistant, the AQHM, who's responsible for the detailed planning and berthing arrangements. When the assistance of tugs and/or Admiralty pilots is required, they are normally allocated in consultation with the AQHM by the Chief Admiralty Pilot of the port, who is an RMAS officer. The Royal Maritime Auxiliary Service is responsible for providing a pilotage and towing service in the dockyard area. The tugs are manned by fully experienced crews who are familiar with the local conditions and with the problems of moving large and small RN ships in the harbour area, whether they're under their own power or not. To provide this service, several different types of tug are used. The largest are the seagoing tugs of the R class, powered by 4,500 horsepower diesels with twin controllable pitch screws and a bollard pull of 50 tonneys. Paddle tugs, powered by 1,600 horsepower diesel-electric engines, have a bollard pull of 22 tonneys. They have a beam of 20 meters and are rather cumbersome, but have the ability to twist a tow at rest when they're secured alongside, with the paddles abreast of the ship's turning point. The dog class is a general-purpose, medium-powered tug, particularly well-suited to handling DLGs and frigates. Their 1,320 horsepower diesels give these tugs a bollard pull of 16 tonneys, and they have bridge control of their conventional twin screws. In the majority of tugs, the master is also a qualified Admiralty pilot, and his experience enables him to anticipate events by ensuring that his tug is always in the right position. Normally, the master of one of the tugs taking part is allocated as the pilot to plan and control the move. Another type of large tug in current use is a 1,600 horsepower diesel. Like the paddle tugs, these are often used as an engine tug when moving a ship which has no power on its own engines. Cold moves of ships from berth to berth, or winding them to berth them the other side too, are a frequent dockyard requirement. It has bridge control of its twin variable pitch screws. And a bollard pull of 24.5 tonneys. Unlike the paddle tug, the screw tug secures well aft at an angle to the ship's side. It has good maneuverability for its size. A point to watch, however, when working alongside, is the clearance required by the masts and superstructure. To wind and rebirth a DLG, two large tugs are used as engine tugs, and smaller tugs are used to assist the turn. Once the ship has been turned through 180 degrees, the tugs on the berthing side are released. The girl class of small harbour tugs are fitted with several different types of propulsion systems. The latest of these is the Voith-Schneider. This uses a system of revolving vertical blades fitted forward of the bridge to give it the capability of exerting full thrust in any direction. They are one of the most maneuverable tugs in RN service and are particularly suitable for use in a push-pull situation because of their ability to move sideways. The present Voith-Schneider tugs have 600 horsepower or 300 horsepower diesel engines with bollard pulls of 5.5 tonneys and 3 tonneys respectively. But more powerful tugs using the same system are planned. Some tasks require several tugs. Others are relatively simple. But even so, the tow must be properly and correctly secured, using the right gear for the job. Maneuverable as a Voith-Schneider tug is, moving in confined waters cannot be accomplished safely unless the tow is firmly held alongside, so that the tug and barge move as one. Besides, it might not be so calm outside the basin. Not all movements require the assistance of tugs. It's perfectly possible to bring a ship alongside without them. Whether to use tugs or not depends on the strength and direction of the tidal stream and the wind speed and direction at the intended berth. These are all aspects of the berthing on which the tug master, as a qualified pilot, can be asked for advice.
Alsatian, this is
Active. What is the wind speed and direction at my berth, please?
active Alsatian. I will proceed to your berth now and report on weather conditions. Over.
Active, roger out.
If there's any doubt about the weather or tide, it's better to proceed to the berth, from where an accurate assessment of the conditions can be given.
Active Alsatian, the wind speed at your berth is 15 knots, gusting to 25 knots. The wind direction is northerly. suggest we secure with rope over our bow into your port shoulder to assist with berthing. Over.
It takes time for a tug to get into position, but this can be considerably shortened if the tug master anticipates by correct positioning of his tug.
Roger.
Until it's secured, it can't be of maximum assistance, so sufficient sea room must be allowed and the speed reduced to a minimum whilst the tug is securing. Once secured, the tug can then remain parallel until the way comes off the ship. But it's essential that the tug is kept informed of any alterations to course and speed during the approach to the berth. At all times, alternative methods of control, such as whistles and common sense hand signals, may be used.
Let go!
No two moves are ever the same. There's always something slightly different. But whatever the job, it's important that the tow should be correctly rigged on both the tug and the vessel to be towed, especially when towing from the hook. On the tug, all watertight doors and hatches on the weather deck should be securely shut. Most tugs are fitted with Clyde towing arms. This incorporates a slip hook which can be operated from the bridge. On the vessel being towed, the hawser must be attached to a slip. A maul must be available to release the slip at the end of the tow. And, for emergency use, should all other means of slipping fail, an axe. The towing hawsers are nylon, with a wire pennant to prevent chafe. Once it's attached to the slip should be moused. The length of hawser depends on the nature of the task, but on a harbour tow, it's normally kept as short as practicable.
Doris, tow half speed.
When planning harbour movements, particularly those involving the entry into and departure from basins and locks, the position of attending tugs will be dictated by the proximity of other ships, the width of the entrance, the wind and tidal stream, and any other hazard that may foul the approach.
Keep on straight, please. Begin on your slow speed.
Doris, slow speed.
24 horses turn together. Let's go together.
At this stage, the master rigger assumes responsibility for the move. He controls the ship with shore guys, as the side tug will normally need to be let go. Once through the entrance, the tow will be arrested by tug or by shore guys, whilst a side tug is secured in order to assist in completing the move.
Doris, half speed. Doris, stop towing it, let go and ready.
In harbour towing, the most difficult task for a tugmaster is connecting a towing hawser to the bow of a ship which may be steaming at up to 8 knots. When approaching a ship, the master must be aware of the effects of interaction and correct his helm accordingly to avoid being sucked in amidships or turned out by the bow and stern pressure areas. Quite large and sudden changes of helm may be required to counteract these effects. On board the tug, just in case the tow is slipped at both ends, it's a wise precaution to attach a small wire to the towing hawser to enable it to be recovered. The art of successful harbour towing lies with the tugmaster. He must ensure that his tug is in the right position at the right time, so that he can give the maximum assistance with a minimum of orders from the pilot.
Starboard 20.
Starboard.
If possible, the tow should be slipped so that it falls over the tug's stern, which is the easiest place to recover a tow. During the actual let go, the speed should not exceed 3 knots below the tug's maximum. In practice, this means about 7 knots. The tow must not be let go whilst there's any strain on it. So the tug has to reduce speed, and the master then gives the signal when he's ready.
Let go the tow.
The tow must be recovered as quickly as possible, just in case the tug is required again. The tug should clear the ship's track without delay. The one thing that can be said about harbour towing is that no two jobs are ever the same. It requires a high level of expertise by all those taking part: masters, pilots, and the captain and ship's company of the ship being towed, if it's to be safely and successfully carried out.